Do you ever have one of those days when you just don't know what you want and you'd like to be able to explore all of your options? Today I have for you a bracelet design that will let you do just that. You can swap out strands of leather, change up your charms, and get the exact thing you want on any given day. Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another jewelry making video at keepsakecrafts.net. So the nice folks at Endless Leather asked me if I would like to collaborate with them once again, and I love their products. They have some of the most just lovely and interesting assortments of leather cord that I have seen. And so of course I jumped at the chance and started perusing their website to design. Now it can be tricky to design projects just based on what you see on a computer screen, but they were terrific to work with. I had questions and they got back to me. I had detailed, like very specific questions. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but they got back to me right away. So I started thinking about these. These are very interesting little doodads. They are snap rings. It's 14.5 millimeters, and it's got a little spring in there. And I actually ordered one of these the last time I collaborated with them. I ordered it by mistake, and I was thinking, what could I do with this? And I had the thought to take a whole bunch of different sizes and shapes and colors and finishes of leather and put them together into one bracelet that you could then swap out the components and interchange them and make it any combination you like. So that's what we're going to do today. It starts with these snap rings, and the package that I got comes from Germany, so all the labels are in German. But what's interesting is if you just say the words out loud, ein Schnappenring, or ein Schnappring, well, there you go, it's a snap ring. And a lot of them are like that, like Napa leather, rund. I'm not sure what that Gussamel is, dunkelbraun, which is dark brown. It's round, dark brown Napa leather. So also it was in English on the invoice, which helped. So what I did was I ordered a whole array of leathers with findings to go with them. And I ordered more than I thought I was going to use because, like I said, I just wasn't sure when I got the things exactly how they were going to look together. So it's good to have options. And it's also good to have helpful merchants. For example, I wanted some different shapes and I wanted different amounts. So where these 6 millimeter cords are going to get these 6 millimeter end caps, and aren't these nice? They're silver plated end caps. They're just a beautiful weight and finish. They're just really nice quality. So all of these cords get these 6 millimeter. So one cord fits into one finding. Then of course, if you're doing this at home, you're going to take a little bit more time and do it very carefully. And they fit in beautifully. And then these will fit right onto the Schnappenring. Just like that. So you can take them off and on as you see fit. So let's see, I have the 6 millimeter ones for these 3 6 millimeter cords. I have 4 millimeter, same thing for the 4 millimeter leather print cord. And I also have, where'd they go? These little itty bitty 2 millimeter. So I thought I would do 2 strands of the 2 millimeter cord. And so I have these. But then I also wanted to have kind of something a little bit different. How about cords all bunched together? And this was where I had questions. So I found these. I thought these were really cool. End caps. It said 2.7 millimeters. So I emailed them and asked if 2 or 3 strands would fit, of this particular leather would fit inside here. And he wrote me back and told me that 2 strands would fit. Honestly, I suspect I spent more time shopping than I actually will spend constructing this bracelet. So isn't that a cool component? And that will also fit right on the snap ring. Just like that. The final one that I have is this 1.5 millimeter. I love this turquoise. And I also came across these. These are one of the only findings that I found that is not silver plated, but I just absolutely loved the organic texture of it. This actually comes with a clasp and an extender chain, but I opted to take those off and add an 8 millimeter jump ring so it can also go on the snap ring. And you can save these pieces for another project. But I got those for this cord because I thought it would look fantastic to have multiple strands in here. So this will actually hold, and this was another question I emailed them, possibly 5 strands of this cord, at least 4. So that just adds a really nice texture and interest. You could even braid it if you wanted to. So I'm still not certain which of these I'm going to use in my bracelet. I'm going to glue one end of each of all of them into a finding. What I'm going to use is this 2-part epoxy, which I also got from Endless Leather. And I love this stuff because it takes 90 minutes to cure. 5-minute epoxy is great if you're feeling impatient, but you have to be in a bit of a rush to do that. What I like to use are these little cards that come in the packages from the Dollar Bead Box. I love to use these to mix on. So you just take a little bit of a toothpick and equal parts of each. You do want to use this stuff in a well-ventilated room and mix it thoroughly. Just check your clock and mix for 2 minutes. So my glue has been thoroughly mixed, and now I can just start gluing things in. If you need to, grab a pair of scissors and cut yourself a clean end. And I love that these are sealed, so you're not going to have any glue oozing out the back end. You know, some end caps have a hole. No problems of that sort with these. You don't need to put a lot of glue in there because the leather is going to fill up most of the space. So just get a bit in there, make sure the sides are coated. I tend to move this out of the way because I tend to drag my hand through things. I make such a mess. And then we'll just tuck that right in there. Sometimes it can be a tight fit depending on the leather, and you just give it a little bit of a twist and a push. And that's that. Check all around and make sure you don't have any glue oozing out, and if you do, just wipe it up right now. Use a wet wipe and wipe it up. And I'm going to do this with all of them. For this one, in fact, I'm not even going to cut these cords. There's no need because I'll do the measuring once that glue is dried and I have part of the bracelet assembled, and then I can measure it based on my own wrist measurements. So this one you do the same way. Get a little glue down in there. Get it up on the sides. Tuck those in. Check for seepage. Just set it aside somewhere where it won't be disturbed. The only other one I'll show you is this one. These I did have to cut into pieces in order to get 5 strands I found would indeed fit in there. So I had about a meter. I think they gave me a generous meter. So I just cut them into about a little over 7-inch pieces, which will be plenty. And because there'll be a little bit more space around these, I'll probably put a little bit more of the glue in there. Oh, I'm trying not to make a mess. Failed at that. Yeah, that was a good size little drop. Give that a wipe right now while I can. Try to keep that clean. Get all my ends gathered together. This glue says that it is cured in 12 hours. I will probably try to leave it for about 24 hours, just to be sure it's thoroughly cured, because I'm going to be tugging on it and handling it. So you do that with all of your pieces, glue them into just one end into their findings. So it's been well over 12 hours, and here are all of my cords with one of the end caps glued in. And here's a tip for you. I've never had a problem with this particular epoxy glue, but sometimes the two-part epoxies, for whatever reason, they never kick off or they take longer than you might think. So keep your little piece with your toothpick, and when that is cured, then you know that the stuff on your pieces is cured. So just a tip for you. Now, before I do anything more with these, let's get our snap rings ready. I did have them send me some nice silver-plated jump rings, which do fit on the snap rings. Unfortunately, I didn't think of this. It can be hard, like I said, to shop online, because you don't always think of everything until you have pieces in your hands. But although they fit on the ring, there's very little extra room for anything else. So I wasn't able to use these to attach my lobster clasp, which is why it's always good to have a stash. So what I've done was I just attached my clasp with an 8mm jump ring. At some point I'll get some silver plated and replace this one, just so they all match. So I've got my clasp on one end, and I'll go ahead and use this little bit of chain that came with this finding. Again, at some point I'll probably replace both of these pieces with silver plated so it all matches. Although this isn't silver plated, but all right. And then I will put this together to give me an idea of what we're looking at for length. Because from here to here, it adds 2 inches to my bracelet. One other thing I have, just to add some fun, you can totally skip this, are these darling little charm slides. They're just a little over 6mm, so they fit on the 6mm cord, and you will have to make this decision before you glue on the other end of your cap, whether you want to add these or not. And I also had them send me a few of their charms. I've got a cute little koi fish, a dragon, and just a sparkly crystal. What's cool about these charms, the way they come is with a lobster clasp. So you actually don't have to make the decision at this point which one you want to put on which cord, because you can interchange them. You can mix and match them. You just have to decide before you glue on the other end cap if you want to have one of these at all. I have 3, so I'm going to put one on each of my 6mm cords. And then I can mix and match the charms as I like. The next step is to pop one of these onto the snap ring and pop the other one onto the other snap ring. And if you're doing this for yourself, you can just measure it on yourself, or you can use a bracelet mandrel, which I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to use that to kind of finalize. Now I don't want this that tight, so I'll back it off just a tiny bit. And this bracelet's going to have some depth, so I'm not going to measure it right here, right at my wrist bone, but just a little further up my wrist, because I'm going to have several pieces. So it's going to go in there, so about there. I'm going to mark it just a little big. And I want to double check this on a bracelet mandrel that I have. I've marked the inside diameter. This is what works for me on my wrist. So you can put it right on that line. And there's my mark. You know, you can hardly see it. I can hardly see it. I should have started with a lighter color. And yeah, I'd say that's pretty close. I'm just going to cut it a little shy of that to fit into the cap. right about there. And I love this particular Napa leather. It just has a beautiful soft feel. I can tell it's going to be so comfortable to wear. And we'll just do a little test, pop it in there, and ever so gently, see if I can put this on, or at least just test and make sure. I just want to double check before you glue. Yeah, that is perfect. So now we can pop out the one that's not glued, and I can repeat with all of my pieces, and I can use this mandrel now that I know this is just right. I can use this mandrel in the exact same way, putting the other end cap on the snap ring, checking the fit and cutting, and then gluing them all just as before. Because I made my measurement with the thickest cord, I can go ahead and make all of them the same length. If I had started out making my measurement with a thinner cord, I might have wanted to double check and just made sure, because with a thicker cord you're going to need a longer length. But I am going to make all of these the same length as the thicker cord, just because, like I said, there's going to be a bit of bulk to this bracelet, because you can combine so many cords together. So I'd rather make them a little bit long than a little bit short. So I'm actually going to kind of do that. Just build in a little bit of extra. And carry on doing that with all of your cords. As you're doing this, you want to take into account that your findings are going to be different lengths and sizes. So you may want to cut your pieces a little long and then temporarily pop the cap on. So like I've got this piece that's one of the 6mm just with the cap on. It's not glued yet, but I have it to the same length as the other 6mm pieces. And I want to cut this one that is 4mm. But I'm actually not going to cut the cord to the same length, because if you line up the loops, you can see that it's a little bit different. It's not hugely different, but it's a little bit different on both ends. So I have them both attached down here, and I'm just going to line them up so they're both the right length. And then if I want those loops to line up, that's about right. So I'll be cutting this right in line with the bottom of that loop a little bit more than that off, because the cord won't go quite all the way up. There's some thickness in the finding there. So right about there. Always cut it a little longer because you can trim off more. You can't put it back. And that looks about right. Now if we pop those off for a minute, you can see that they are slightly different lengths. So that's something you want to look for. Like with this one, it's going to be different, and well, with all of them. So do be sure to check that. Don't just automatically cut all of your cords the same length. One thing I should point out here as you're looking at this utter mess is that I will never ever be wearing all of these cords together at once. The reason I'm doing all of these is to have options so we can mix and match and switch them out. So I have all of these cut now, and I'm going to glue. Give it 12 to 24 hours to dry, and then we can finish assembling. Here's a tip for you just to keep organized, especially I've got 8 different pieces here, and although I have 90 minutes, it does start to set up and get tacky within like an hour or so. So get yourself all organized and squared away. You want to have everything ready, because this stuff is just so easy to make a mess with. So I have everything lined up. I have all my 6mm. I made sure that each one has the charm slide. I have the other end cap for each one. Oh, and I can see here I'm missing one of these. So rather than having to scramble around, again, you have plenty of time, but I still try to work quickly and efficiently, have everything ready and find it. Oh, I left it on here. Okay. So just get everything ready and organized. That way there will be no scrambling about as you try to find things or forget something. Many thanks to those of you who have decided to support me on Patreon. It makes a big difference and is a huge factor in whether or not this channel stays on YouTube. If you're a regular here and you watch my videos every week, you might consider supporting me, and if you like my videos, don't forget that patrons have the opportunity to get up to 2 bonus tutorials every month. So here are the strands all glued, and here is one configuration I chose. 5 of these 8 strands that I made, I popped on a couple of the charms, and isn't this just the coolest things? There are a couple things I figured out as I was putting this together and attempting to wear it. And one is that even though technically these loops all fit through the snap rings, it doesn't allow for much movement. They tend to be bulky and bunched up. So I found it was best to add an 8mm jump ring to each of these. It just gives them more opportunity to move and slide around on the snap ring. You can arrange these. When you put one end on, you can arrange them so that when you put the other end on, they're all in a straight row, or you can kind of mix them up, which is what I did here. So they're sort of crisscrossing. Have fun playing with all the different configurations of colors and textures and shapes and charms, and suit your style and your mood for any given day.